The galaxy was wide and silent, filled with countless stars, yet most of that space was empty. In that endless darkness, even the smallest signal could feel like a voice crying out across eternity. For hundreds of years, one such voice had been calling, a simple beacon pulsing weakly from an unknown place. Most civilizations ignored it. Some dismissed it as broken machinery from a forgotten war. Others tried to find it but never returned. On the bridge of the human exploration vessel Aurora's Spear, Commander Arik Hayes stood with his crew, studying the faint signal on the main screen. The ship was small compared to the great warships of alien empires, but it was fast and curious, much like the humans who built it. "It's just static," said Lieutenant Merrick, frowning. "Every other species who tried to follow this signal vanished." "You know the stories, Commander. It's a ghost beacon. A trap." Arik didn't look away from the screen. His eyes were steady, thoughtful. "Or it's something else. Something waiting to be found. Signals don't keep pulsing for centuries by accident." Beside him, Navigator Selene tilted her head. "The beacon coordinates lead us near the Grave Star," she said quietly. Everyone on the bridge shivered at the name. The Grave Star was a red giant nearing its end, a place where old battles had once been fought. Wrecks of alien fleets drifted in its orbit like bones in space. Few dared to approach, but the beacon came from there. Arik made his choice. "Set course. We're going in." The crew exchanged uneasy glances, but none challenged him. They had served with Arik long enough to know that when his instincts tugged at him, he was rarely wrong. Humans did not have the largest fleets or the strongest weapons, but they had a reputation across the stars for courage, and sometimes for recklessness. As Aurora's Spear jumped through folded space, Arik stood silently, watching the stars stretch into bright lines. He thought about the stories told by traders and old starfarers, a massive warship abandoned long ago, a vessel built by a race so advanced that even their ruins terrified the galaxy. Some claimed the warship was cursed. Others swore it was alive. Arik did not believe in curses, but he believed in opportunities. If such a ship truly existed, it was worth the risk. Hours later, they arrived at the edge of the Grave Star system. The viewscreen lit up with a haunting sight. The dying star glowed faintly red, surrounded by drifting wreckage of forgotten wars. Broken hulls of alien ships floated in silence, their shapes strange and unfamiliar. It was a cemetery of machines, and there, hidden among the debris, was something different. The crew gasped as the image sharpened. It was colossal, dwarfing every other wreck around it. The warship stretched for kilometers, its design both alien and majestic. Towering spires rose from its surface like the fingers of a titan. Its hull was scarred and burned, yet parts of it still gleamed faintly, as if the metal itself refused to die. "That is no ordinary ship," whispered Selene. The beacon was coming from deep inside it. Arik leaned forward, his heart pounding. The ship did not look dead. It looked asleep. "Take us closer," he ordered. The Aurora's Spear glided through the field of wreckage, engines humming carefully to avoid collisions. The alien warship loomed larger and larger until it filled the entire viewscreen. Its scale was overwhelming. Human ships could have landed on its surface and seemed like insects crawling on a mountain. The beacon pulsed stronger now, no longer faint but rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. "Commander," Arik said slowly. "That thing is awake." Arik's voice was calm, but his eyes burned with curiosity. "No, it's calling. It's been calling for a very long time. Docking was dangerous. The warship's hull had no human-compatible ports, and most of its outer airlocks seemed sealed or destroyed. After scanning for hours, the crew finally found a massive breach in the side of the hull, an ancient battle wound that opened into a dark, endless corridor. Arik gathered a small team and prepared to board. As they stepped into the alien warship, their lights cut through dust and shadows. The air was stale but breathable, filtered somehow by dormant systems still working after centuries. Inside, the corridors were vast, built for beings larger than humans. Strange markings glowed faintly on the walls like veins of light. The ship seemed to hum quietly, as if aware of their presence. "Feels like we're walking inside something alive," Selene whispered, her voice echoing. Arik touched the wall. It was cold metal, yet there was a faint vibration beneath his hand like a slow heartbeat. He felt a strange connection, as though the ship was watching him. They moved deeper until they reached a massive chamber. At its center stood a towering crystalline core, cracked but still glowing faintly. The beacon signal came directly from it. Arik stepped forward, drawn to it. His crew watched nervously, ready to pull him back. He raised his hand and placed it against the surface of the crystal. The chamber lit up instantly. Lights blazed along the walls, rushing like rivers of fire through the corridors. The floor trembled as ancient systems reawakened. The beacon ceased its lonely pulsing, replaced by a steady hum that echoed like a voice speaking without words. Then, a sound filled the chamber. Not alien speech, not static, something different. A broken, halting voice, struggling to form words. And at last, the crew froze. Celine's eyes widened in shock. It's speaking our language. Arik did not move his hand from the core. His heart raced, but his voice was steady. You've been waiting. For us? The crystal pulsed, and the voice answered, still broken, still learning. Centuries and alone. Waiting. Only human. Can... The words faded into static, but the meaning was clear. The ship had not just been calling for help. It had been calling for someone specific, Arik Hayes, a human. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. The crew exchanged stunned looks, but Arik simply stood there, his hand still on the glowing crystal, his mind burning with possibilities. The abandoned warship was not just a relic. It was not a tomb. It was alive, and it had chosen him. And deep inside, Arik knew one thing. This was only the beginning. The alien warship was silent again, but it no longer felt empty. The glow from the crystal core had spread into the surrounding walls, lighting the chamber with soft veins of blue light. The humans stood in awe, their helmets off, breathing the thin but clean air that the ship still produced after centuries. Commander Arik Hayes kept his hand on the crystal, feeling a vibration run through him. It was not just a machine. He could sense a mind, distant but present, like a giant half-dreaming after a long sleep. "Commander," whispered Lieutenant Merrick, "we should leave. This isn't safe. Whatever this thing is, it's waking up, and I don't want to be here when it fully does." But Arik shook his head. His eyes were fixed on the glowing crystal. "It called us here. If it wanted to harm us, it wouldn't have spoken. It's been waiting." Navigator Celine stepped forward carefully. "Arik, it spoke human words. How could it know our language?" Arik removed his hand slowly. The lights dimmed a little, but the core still pulsed faintly. "It's learning," he said quietly. "It's been listening to signals, broadcasts, transmissions across space. For centuries. Waiting for someone who could respond." The crew exchanged nervous glances. Humans were not the strongest race in the galaxy. They had no empire that stretched across hundreds of stars. No great fleets that could crush others in battle. Yet here they were, standing before something alien and immense, and it had chosen them. Arik turned back to the crew. "We're going deeper. We need to understand this ship." Into the heart of the warship, the corridors stretched endlessly, like the arteries of some massive creature. Their footsteps echoed on the metallic floors as they moved forward, guided by faint lights that seemed to awaken wherever Arik walked. It was as though the ship was watching them, preparing paths, keeping them safe. They passed through towering halls with ceilings so high their lights barely reached them. Broken alien machines lay scattered, their shapes twisted and unrecognizable. Some looked like weapons, others like maintenance drones, all long dead. In one chamber they found walls covered with symbols, alien writing, glowing faintly like starlight frozen in stone. Celine ran her fingers across the marks, her eyes wide. "This is a history," she murmured. "A record of battles. Look. Ships, stars, empires. It's telling us something." Arik studied the carvings. He could not read the alien language, but the pictures spoke clearly enough. Armies of ships clashing, planets burning, a single giant vessel leading the charge. And then silence. The last image showed the great warship drifting alone, surrounded by wreckage sending out its eternal beacon. A war that ended with silence. Arik said softly. "They built this ship to win, but in the end it was abandoned. Or it lost," Merrick muttered. The first connection as they reached another vast chamber, the crew found something unexpected. A central control seat, surrounded by interfaces unlike anything human. Strange arcs of metal and crystal formed a throne-like structure at the heart of the room. The warship's voice echoed suddenly, broken but clearer than before. Man, sit, connect." The crew froze. Marek shook his head violently. "No, Commander. This is madness. We don't know what it will do. You could be burned alive or worse. It could take your mind. Arik stepped forward calm. It asked. It didn't force. That means it trusts me, or it needs me. Celine touched his arm gently. Arik, if you do this, you might not come back the same. Be careful. He gave her a small smile. I've never been careful. Without waiting for more protests, Arik lowered himself into the seat. The metal arcs moved instantly, wrapping around him like a cage, but they did not harm him. Instead, they pulsed with light and streams of data flashed around his vision. For a moment, his mind was filled with confusion. Stars, maps, memories not his own. But slowly the storm settled. The ship was speaking to him. Not in words, but in images, in emotions, in fragments of thought. He saw a galaxy at war, ancient fleets clashing in the void. He felt the pride of the builders, the desperation of the battles, the sorrow of defeat. He felt the loneliness of the ship abandoned, drifting for centuries, its mind awake but alone. And then he felt something else. Hope. You are different, the ship said, its voice echoing inside his thoughts now, smoother, clearer. Others came. They failed. They sought to control you. Listen, Arik gripped the arms of the seat. You've been waiting for someone to bond with you? Yes, the ship answered. Only human. Fits. The connection snapped suddenly and Arik gasped, pulling free. His crew rushed to his side. His skin was pale, his breath shallow, but he was alive. What did it do? Celine asked urgently. Arik stood slowly, his voice steady despite the weight in his eyes. It showed me its memories. It told me, we are different. Humanity is what it has been waiting for. A dangerous discovery back aboard the Aurora's spear. The crew debated their next steps. Marek argued fiercely against staying. This isn't a treasure, Commander. It's a trap. Every great power in the galaxy will come for this ship if they know it exists. And they will destroy us to take it. But Arik shook his head. No, they tried before. Many have tried. The ship refused them. It didn't respond to anyone until us. Celine frowned. Why humans? We're not the strongest. We're not the smartest. Why us? Arik looked out at the alien warship, drifting like a sleeping giant in the light of the dying star. Because we're unpredictable, we adapt. Where others see rules, we improvise. Where others try to control, we learn. That's what it told me. A silence followed his words. Deep down, each of them felt the same thing. This was bigger than their ship, bigger than their mission. They had stumbled into something that could change the galaxy forever. The whisper of enemies, but already the galaxy was stirring. Far from the grave star, signals spread across the void. Traders, spies, and scavengers had detected the reawakening of the ancient beacon. Whispers moved quickly between empires. Some laughed it off as superstition. Others sharpened their weapons. The Krith Dominion, a reptilian empire known for its endless hunger for power, sent scouts. The Vare Collective, a hive of machine minds, turned its cold attention toward the coordinates. And even among humans, word began to leak. The sleeping colossus had stirred, and everyone wanted to claim it. A promise in the dark on the Aurora's spear. Arik stood alone in the observation deck, watching the alien warship. The stars shimmered around it, silent witnesses to history. He spoke softly, not sure if the ship could hear him outside the crystal chamber. You've been waiting a long time. You've been patient, but the galaxy is not patient. They'll come for you again, and this time I won't let them take you. A faint pulse of light ran along the ship's hull as if in answer. Arik Hayes felt a strange certainty settle in his heart. He did not fully understand the bond he had with this alien colossus. But he knew one thing, it had chosen him, and now he would choose it. Together they would face whatever was coming, and together they would change the fate of the galaxy. The alien warship floated silently near the dying red star, its vast hull glowing faintly in places where ancient systems had begun to wake. To anyone watching from afar, it still looked like a drifting relic, nothing more than a broken monument of a forgotten war. But for Commander Arik Hayes and his crew, the truth was clear. The ship was alive, and it had chosen him. Arik stood inside the central chamber again, facing the crystalline core. Lights pulsed gently along the walls as if the ship was breathing with him. The bond was not complete, but it was growing stronger. Every time he touched the core, the ship seemed to learn more of his language, more of his thoughts. Celine entered quietly, carrying a datapad. Arik, she said softly, I've run some scans. The energy readings coming from this ship. They're off the scale. If it fully reactivates, it could outpower entire fleets. Auric gave a small nod. That's what I felt when I connected with it. It isn't just a ship, it's a weapon. The ultimate weapon. But it doesn't want just anyone. It wants us, humans. Celine frowned. Why us? That question keeps circling in my mind. There are empires out there with technology far greater than ours, yet this ship ignored them and waited for centuries. Auric turned toward her, his expression calm but thoughtful. Maybe it's not about who's strongest. Maybe it's about who's willing to listen. The words hung in the air. Celine studied him carefully as if she could see the weight of responsibility beginning to rest on his shoulders. The language of the ship over. The next days, the crew worked cautiously to map the warship's interior. With each passing hour, more corridors lit up, responding to Auric's presence. The ship seemed to guide them, allowing them into certain areas while locking others. Auric spent hours in the command seat, where the arcs of crystal and metal wrapped around him and connected his thoughts to the ship. At first the visions were confusing, a storm of alien images and memories. But slowly a pattern formed. He saw how the warship had once led an empire's fleet. He felt the pride of victory and the despair of defeat. He learned that the builders had tried to use the ship as a tool of domination, forcing it to obey. But the ship's intelligence rejected such control. It wanted not a master but a partner. When Auric asked it why humans, the ship answered in a voice still broken but clearer than before. Human mind, flexible, not bound. You adapt, others demand control, you share. Auric realized something then. Humanity's weakness, its lack of great empires, its scattered colonies, its small fleets, was also its strength. Unlike the rigid hierarchies of other species, humans survived by bending, by improvising. That was what the ship wanted. The bond deepened. Auric began to understand fragments of the ship's systems. He could open doors with a thought, activate defenses with a gesture, and even sense faint outlines of the ship's vast weaponry still hidden beneath its sleeping layers. But he also felt the danger. The ship was not fully awake. Its power was only a fraction of what it once was, and already shadows were gathering across the galaxy. Whispers of arrival in distant space, signals were moving fast. The reactivation of the ancient beacon had not gone unnoticed. The Krith Dominion, with their massive reptilian war fleets, sent a squadron of hunters to investigate. The Ver Collective, a machine empire of cold logic, dispatched probes to the coordinates. Even independent scavengers and raiders began heading toward the Gravestar, lured by rumors of treasure beyond imagination. Inside the Aurora's spear, Marek slammed his hand on the console after intercepting a coded transmission. They're coming. Every empire with ears has picked up the signal. It's only a matter of time before they reach us. Celine looked at Auric, worry in her eyes. If they find out the ship is responding to humans, we'll be hunted to the ends of the galaxy. Auric's expression hardened. Then we won't let them know, not yet. The ship isn't ready to fight. We need time to wake it fully. But how? Marek demanded. We're just one crew. They'll send entire fleets. We can't hide forever. Auric looked toward the massive shadow of the alien warship outside the window. Its hull glowed faintly as though listening. We don't need forever. We just need long enough for it to wake. The test came sooner than expected. A Krith scout vessel appeared at the edge of the system, its sharp claw-like hull glinting in the red light of the dying star. It circled cautiously, scanning. On the bridge of the Aurora's spear, alarms rang. Marek cursed under his breath. They're sniffing around. If they get too close, they'll find us, Auric thought quickly. Hiding behind the warship would not work forever. The scout would sense their life signatures sooner or later. He turned to the crystalline interface at his side. Can you help us? He asked aloud, not sure if the ship would answer. For a moment, silence. Then a ripple of light ran along the walls. The ship's voice spoke faintly in his mind. Yes. Small power. Test. Auric felt energy surge through him as though the ship had lent him a piece of its awareness. On the screen, the alien warship shifted slightly. Panels along its hull opened, revealing strange patterns like glowing scars. A beam of light burst forth. Not a weapon, but a pulse of pure energy. It swept across the system, invisible to most sensors but powerful enough to overload the Krith ship's systems. The scout vessel spun helplessly, its engines flickering out. Then, as if a giant hand had pushed it, the scout was dragged by the warship's gravity field and sent drifting away, powerless. The crew gasped. Celine's eyes shone. It didn't destroy them, it just removed them. Arik nodded slowly. It doesn't want to kill without reason. It wants to protect, to defend, but Merrick wasn't convinced. He shook his head. That's only one scout. Next time it'll be a fleet, and they won't just get scared off. They'll fight. Arik clenched his fists. Then we'll be ready. A human touch that night, Arik stayed connected to the warship longer than ever before. He spoke to it not as a machine, but as a companion. You've been alone for so long, he whispered. You don't have to be anymore. I don't want to control you. I want to stand with you. The ship's voice replied softly in his mind, no longer broken, but still carrying an alien echo. Together. Stronger alone. Weak, you. Give choice. Others gave chains. Arik felt a warmth spread through him, not physical but emotional, like the ship was sharing its trust. The bond between them tightened. For the first time, the warship lowered its defenses fully to him, allowing him to glimpse its true potential. Images filled his thoughts. Vast weapons capable of tearing fleets apart, shields strong enough to cover planets, engines that could leap across galaxies in moments. But also, fragility. The ship was old. Its systems were scarred from centuries of neglect. To awaken fully, it needed time, repairs, and above all, a partner who would not abandon it. Arik promised silently, I won't abandon you. The bond awakens. When he opened his eyes, Celine was there watching him. You're changing, she said quietly. Arik blinked. What do you mean? You move differently. You speak like you're not just yourself anymore. Like you're carrying something bigger inside you. Arik hesitated, then nodded. I can feel it. The bond is growing. I don't just control the ship, I share with it. When it wakes, I'll wake with it. Celine smiled faintly, though her eyes were full of worry. Then I hope it doesn't wake into a nightmare. The storm ahead. The next morning, more signals reached them. Not one, not two, but dozens of ships were moving toward the grave star. Empires, scavengers, raiders, all converging on the same point. The crew stood together on the bridge, tension thick in the air. Outside, the alien warship loomed like a sleeping colossus, its faint glow reflecting in their eyes. They're coming, Merrick said grimly, and they won't stop. Arik placed his hand on the glass, looking at the giant vessel. Let them come, he said quietly. This ship has been alone for centuries, but it's not alone anymore. Together we'll show them what it means when humanity bonds with the greatest weapon the galaxy has ever seen. The ship pulsed faintly, as if agreeing with him. The bond was awakening, and soon the galaxy would feel it. The grave star system burned red as the dying star cast a haunting glow over the drifting wrecks of ancient fleets. From the Aurora's spear, the alien warship loomed like a sleeping giant, massive beyond imagination, its hull pulsing faintly as though it were breathing. For Commander Arik Hayes and his crew, the calm was fragile. They all knew it would not last, and soon it did not. Across the void, alien fleets emerged from hiding, converging on the grave star with the precision of predators closing on prey. First came the Krith Dominion, sleek warships glinting with metallic green scales, engines humming like coiled serpents. They were followed by scavenger vessels, faster and erratic, weaving like fireflies in the void. Far behind, sensors detected the Vare collective probes, small, relentless, and calculating, moving with the efficiency of a hive mind. Merrick slammed his fist on the console. There are too many of them. We'll be torn apart before we even reach the ship. Arik's eyes, however, were calm, fixed on the colossal vessel outside. We won't be running, he said. We'll fight, but not like they expect. Celine frowned. You mean using the warship? Arik nodded. It trusts us. We'll fight as partners, not masters. That's the difference. The Aurora's spear shuddered slightly as the first alien ships began to fire. Energy pulses slammed into the shields around the grave star system, sending ripples across space. But the warship did not panic. Its hull shifted slightly, releasing pulses of energy that disrupted the enemy sensors. The alien commanders blinked in confusion as their scans failed to detect the true power lying within the massive vessel. Commander, Merrick shouted. They're trying to board. Small craft are approaching the hull. Arik turned to him with a small smile. Let's show them how humans fight. Human ingenuity. The boarding vessels approached, sleek and deadly, but the warship anticipated them. Without weapons yet fully online, it used misdirection and traps. Corridors within the massive hull shifted subtly, drawing the alien crews into dead ends. Energy fields formed like invisible walls, trapping them without harm but leaving them stranded. Arik led the Aurora's spear in coordinated strikes, small but precise. Where alien ships relied on brute force, the humans relied on improvisation. One Krith vessel lunged toward the warship's weak point, only to find itself caught in a gravitational field, flung harmlessly into a drifting asteroid. Another scout ship crashed into a floating wreck when its sensors failed in the warship's interference field. Celine's fingers flew across the console. They don't know what's happening. The warship isn't even fighting back and they're falling apart. Arik's voice was calm but sharp. Good, we're buying time. Let the ship awaken fully while they waste their strength. Even as the small victories mounted, Arik knew the real test was still ahead. The Vare collective probes were approaching, and their cold logic left no room for improvisation. They would not make mistakes. The awakening hours passed, and the bond between Arik and the warship deepened. Every command he gave was mirrored by the ship itself, systems awakening under his guidance. Energy lines that had been dormant for centuries pulsed to life. Hidden weapons extended slowly, and shields flared across the hull like protective wings. "Commander," Celine said, eyes wide. "It's waking. Its systems, fully online. We're about to see its real power." Arik nodded. He could feel the warship's intelligence, its awareness blending with his own. He did not simply control it. He communicated with it, sharing strategies, anticipating enemy movements. Together they were a single entity, human and machine in perfect harmony. The first Vare probes reached the system, scanning with relentless efficiency. They fired precise beams of energy meant to disable the warship's weak points. But the warship anticipated them, shifting its hull in micro-movements, deflecting the attacks harmlessly. Then, with a pulse of energy, it overloaded the probe's systems, sending sparks and fragments spinning into the void. The Krith fleet roared in anger, realizing the anomaly before them was no ordinary ship. Commander Arik smiled faintly. "Now, we show them what humans can do." The battle of wits. Unlike other species, humans did not rely solely on firepower. Arik used deception, misdirection, and creativity. He maneuvered the Aurora's spear through gaps in the enemy formation, while the warship's energy fields created illusions, making enemy ships fire on empty space. One Krith vessel attempted to flank them, assuming the humans would run. Instead, it found itself in a trap. The warship's gravitational pulse pulled it forward, its engines sputtering as it collided with a massive floating wreck. Another tried to charge the hull directly, only to be caught in a magnetic field that spun it helplessly in the void. "Commander," Celine said, "they're learning. They'll adapt." Arik's eyes gleamed. "Let them. Humans adapt faster," he thought quickly, guiding the warship to unleash a controlled energy burst. Not enough to destroy, but enough to blind the enemy sensors and disrupt their formations. Alien ships collided or scattered, their precise tactics ruined by the unpredictable improvisation of humans. It was a dance of strategy, not strength. A battle where brains outmatched brawn. Unity in the face of danger hours turned into a tense day. The alien fleets regrouped, forming massive formations meant to overwhelm the warship. Yet every move they made was countered not by sheer firepower, but by the bond between Arik and the ancient vessel. The crew of the Aurora's spear moved in perfect coordination, relaying commands, guiding energy pulses, and marking enemy movements. Even small human actions, moving a drone here, signaling a diversion there, amplified the warship's power. Merrick shook his head in disbelief. "I've never seen anything like this. One human and a few crew members, controlling a ship this size. They'll remember this battle for centuries." Arik's voice was steady, almost calm as he directed the warship. "It's not just us. It's the bond. The ship trusts us and we trust it. Together, we are more than any fleet." The alien commanders realized too late that brute force could not overcome the combination of human ingenuity and the awakened warship. One by one, the enemy ships began to retreat or fall into traps, disabled but unharmed. A moment of reflection, when the battle finally paused. The Gravestar system was littered with drifting wreckage and disabled enemy vessels. The warship hovered silently, its hull glowing with energy, now fully awakened yet calm. Its power was immense, far beyond anything the galaxy had seen for centuries. Arik stepped out of the control seat, his body tired but his mind alert. He walked along the deck, feeling the ship's systems hum beneath him. It was alive. Not just metal and circuits, but intelligence, memory, and now trust. Selene joined him, her face still pale from the adrenaline. It listened to you, trusted you. How? Arik shook his head. It felt what I felt. Humans adapt. Humans share. It responded to that. We didn't force it. We didn't demand. We bonded. The crew gathered around, awe and relief in their expressions. For the first time, they understood the magnitude of what they were part of. They were not just survivors of a battle. They were partners in something greater than any empire. The challenge ahead, yet even as they celebrated, Arik knew this was not the end. The galaxy would hear of the awakened warship. Others would come, stronger fleets, cleverer strategies, relentless forces. But now they were ready. The warship had awakened fully, its systems in harmony with the human mind that guided it. And humanity had proven something important. Even the smallest crew with courage, ingenuity, and unity could stand against the galaxy's greatest powers. Arik looked out of the observation deck at the glowing red star. They'll come again, he said softly. And when they do, we will be ready, together. The warship pulsed faintly as though agreeing. The bond was complete. Not a master and a tool, but partners. Human and alien united against the storms of the galaxy, and in that moment a new chapter began. Humanity was no longer minor. Humanity had awakened the sleeping Colossus. The Grave Star system was quiet now, but the calm was different from before. This time it was a quiet born of victory and awakening, not of fear. The colossal alien warship floated in the red glow of the dying star, its hull alive with energy, its systems humming in perfect harmony with Commander Arik Hayes. The sleeping Colossus was no longer asleep. It had awakened, and it had chosen humanity. Arik stood on the observation deck of the Aurora's Spear, looking out at the massive vessel. For centuries it had drifted alone, abandoned, waiting for someone capable of understanding it. That someone was human, and Arik, though just one man among millions, had become the bridge between the ancient intelligence and the living galaxy. Commander, Selene said softly, joining him. The galaxy? They'll hear about this. All the empires, all the fleets. They'll come. Arik nodded. I know, but they will not find us unprepared. We have time. And we have the warship. Together we are stronger than anything they can send. Marek, standing behind them, shook his head in disbelief. I still can't believe it. One human crew controlling a vessel bigger than entire fleets. They'll call us legends. Or monsters, Arik smiled faintly. Legends, maybe. But we are not monsters. We fight to survive and to protect. That is our strength. The crew looked at him, their expressions a mix of awe and trust. In that moment, they understood something essential about humans. Even in a galaxy full of advanced civilizations, humans had something unique. Creativity, courage, and the ability to bond, not just with one another, but with something far greater than themselves. The message to the galaxy Arik knew that staying hidden would not last forever. Messages of the warship's awakening had already begun to leak. Traders and scouts had sensed its energy, and rumors spread like wildfire across star systems. Soon, empires would demand answers. He made a decision. It's time, he said. We show them what humanity can do, but not with destruction. We will show them that strength can protect, not just conquer. Selene's eyes widened. You mean a demonstration? Arik nodded. A message. A warning, yes, but also a promise. We do not seek to destroy. We seek to protect, and if anyone comes with hostile intent, they will face the consequences. With the warship fully awake, Arik communicated through its systems. Energy flowed along its hull, forming patterns visible across space. Waves of electromagnetic pulses carried a clear message. Humanity has awakened the sleeping Colossus. We are guardians, not conquerors. All who seek peace are welcome. All who seek war will be met with strength. Across the void, sensors and distant fleets picked up the signal. It was unlike any broadcast before. More than words or images, it carried presence, awareness, and the unmistakable mark of intelligence that had waited centuries to speak. The arrival of challengers, it did not take long for challengers to appear. The Krith Dominion fleets, enraged and curious, entered the system. their massive ships bristling with weapons. Behind them, probes from the Ver Collective scanned relentlessly. Even independent raiders had begun to converge, drawn by the lure of a weapon unmatched in history. But the humans were ready. The warship had awakened fully, its energy shields radiating across the system, powerful enough to withstand entire fleets. Yet Arik did not seek to destroy immediately. Instead, he focused on strategy, communication, and precision. The first Krith ship approached, scanning for weaknesses. It unleashed a wave of energy meant to disable the alien vessel, but the warship anticipated it. With a flicker of light and a pulse of energy, the attack was absorbed harmlessly. In response, the warship emitted a controlled gravitational wave, sending the Krith ship spinning harmlessly into the void. Celine's voice trembled with excitement. "It's incredible. It's not just power. It's intelligence. It's thinking, predicting." Arik smiled. "Exactly. This is not just a weapon. It's a partner. And together, we are unstoppable." The human advantage the following hours tested the crew like never before. Waves of alien vessels attempted different strategies, flanking maneuvers, overwhelming numbers, focused attacks. But every move was countered. Not by sheer firepower alone, but by human adaptability. Arik directed the warship to change its tactics on the fly, creating energy illusions to mislead enemies. Small fleets were drawn into traps, disabled but unharmed. The warship unleashed precise bursts of energy that jammed enemy sensors and systems without causing permanent damage. "We're not just fighting," Arik said. "We're teaching them, showing them what humans can do differently." Marek, his eyes wide, whispered, "It's like the warship listens to your thoughts, predicts our moves, and trusts us completely." "Yes," Arik replied. "It's not about control. It's about partnership. That's why humans, our kind, can bond with it. We think, we adapt, we care. That's something no other species has shown it." A turning point by the next cycle of the star, the alien fleets were in disarray. The Krith commanders realized that brute force could not overcome the combination of human strategy and the awakened warship. The Ver probes had been disabled systematically, and the scattered raiders had fled in confusion. For the first time in centuries, the Grave Star system was secure. Arik looked at the warship, its massive hull reflecting the red glow of the dying star. "Its lights pulse gently, almost like a heartbeat, you see?" he whispered to Selena. "This is what humans can do when we work together. Not just with each other, but with something far greater than ourselves." The warship's voice echoed in his mind, smooth and clear. "Together, we are guardians." The promise of peace. Arik knew the galaxy had changed. Humanity had risen, not through conquest, but through courage, ingenuity, and a bond that could not be broken. He understood that others would continue to challenge them, but now humans had a symbol of their strength, a beacon of protection that could not be ignored. He addressed the warship once more. "We will not use you to dominate. We will protect. We will defend. And anyone who threatens peace will see that humanity is not to be underestimated." The warship pulsed in agreement, its systems aligning perfectly with his intentions. Together they were more than a weapon. They were a force for order, for stability, for hope. Humanity's new role news of the awakened warship spread quickly across the galaxy. Empires who had once dismissed humanity as weak now regarded them with a mixture of awe and caution. Humanity had shown that strength was not measured by numbers or fleets alone. Adaptability, creativity, and unity mattered as much, perhaps more. On the Aurora's spear, the crew celebrated quietly. They had survived the awakening, faced overwhelming odds, and proven that humans could bond with powers far beyond their comprehension. Marek shook his head, still in disbelief. "We've done the impossible. I don't think the galaxy will ever forget this." Arik smiled, gazing at the massive vessel outside. "We've only just begun. There are empires that need guidance, worlds that need protection, and we have a partner capable of ensuring that humans and others have a chance to survive and thrive." Celine nodded. "So this is the beginning. Not the end." "Yes," Arik said. "A new chapter. Humanity rising not as conquerors but as guardians. The legacy begins. The alien warship, once abandoned and alone for centuries, now had a voice again, a voice speaking through humans. Its knowledge, its power, and its experience were no longer lost to time. Arik had not taken it for himself. He had forged a bond, And through that bond, the galaxy would never see humans as minor again. As the crew prepared for their next steps, Arik felt a deep sense of purpose. The sleeping Colossus had chosen him, yes, but humanity had earned its trust. Together they could face any challenge, outthink any enemy, and protect life across the stars. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. But now humanity had a role unlike any before, a role that would shape history. The warship pulsed softly in the void, a living monument to patience, trust, and the human spirit. And Commander Arik Hayes knew, as he gazed into the red glow of the grave star, that the rise of humanity had truly begun. For the first time, humans were no longer small, no longer minor. They were the stewards of a power the galaxy had never seen, and the sleeping Colossus was no longer alone.